Welcome back to another Explainer, Industryiq viewers. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here today, because we're looking at a truly fascinating shift in the global tech landscape. For years, we've just assumed our devices, our apps, and our operating systems were this universal language, but what actually happens when local regulations start reshaping the global tech we use literally every single day? Well, today we're breaking down digital sovereignty, and we're looking really closely at the evolution of Apple's iOS down in Brazil.
Okay, let's dive into this. We used to totally take for granted that an iPhone in New York worked exactly the same as one in Sao Paulo, or Tokyo, or London. But are national borders redrawing the software on our phones? The short answer? Yes, they absolutely are, and the landscape is shifting incredibly fast.
So, before we get into the specific tech news, we really need to understand the big picture. Let's define digital sovereignty.
Basically, digital sovereignty is the assertion of state control and national policy over digital infrastructure, data, and software ecosystems right within its borders. Looking at this completely neutrally, we have to realize this isn't just your standard software bug fix or a fresh coat of paint on your home screen. No, this represents a massive geopolitical shift. We're seeing governments stepping up and directly intervening in how private, multinational tech giants operate inside their specific jurisdictions. It's a hugely complex negotiation between global tech ecosystems and sovereign laws.
Let's move to and see how this builds, specifically focusing on the 2026 Brazil announcement, which is our main catalyst today.
So here's the exact timeline. In June 2026, the Apple newsroom formally announced targeted changes to iOS specifically for Brazil. And this official release, it acts as a concrete timestamp. It's the exact moment where the whole concept of digital sovereignty forced a localized evolution in what has historically been a strictly unified global product. We're not talking about academic theory anymore. It is now an official press release from one of the largest tech companies on Earth.
The quote directly from the source reads, "Apple announces changes to iOS in Brazil," published right there in the Apple newsroom in June 2026. So this isn't a rumor. What we're observing here is essentially a direct conversation taking place between national policy requirements on one side and highly complex software engineering on the other. A government sets a regulatory framework, and the tech giant to operate within that market has to engineer a response.
All right, let's pick up the pace a bit and break down these iOS changes, looking at the actual technical and structural implications.
And this brilliantly illustrates a split reality. On one side, you've got the traditional global iOS, that's your unified ecosystem governed by standardized rules. But then, on the other side, we now have a distinct Brazil iOS, which is defined by localized adaptations and sovereign regulatory compliance. We are literally watching the fragmentation of a unified global operating system.
So the micro-narrative here is that because Brazil required these sovereign changes, Apple literally had to dedicate resources to engineer distinct compliance solutions just for that one region. National borders are now actively dictating software features. This is a massive, massive departure from a one-size-fits-all operating system. The actual code governing the device in your pocket is changing depending on the geographic borders you live within.
Now, let's slow down for a second and look at the global precedent this sets.
So the crucial point is 2026. This year is way more than just a date on a calendar. It's a critical inflection point. This is the year where the shift in the balance of power between technology giants and government policy became completely undeniable. The precedent has officially been set.
But why does this matter to you? What's the big takeaway here? Well, we're watching a real-time balancing act between the massive infrastructure of a tech giant and the hard rules of nation-states. Major geopolitical shifts are directly affecting private tech ecosystems. Ultimately, this Brazil announcement, it isn't an isolated incident. It's setting the stage for future regional iOS variants. It's a preview of a border-driven future for all the global software you use every single day. Your apps, your operating systems, your whole digital life. It's increasingly going to be shaped by local legislation. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to ponder. As digital borders rise, will your smartphone's operating system soon be dictated by your zip code? I mean, think about the device in your hand right now. How different will it look from the rest of the world 5 years from now? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the tech around you, and I will catch you next time.